All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's presentation, Preventing Bird Window Collisions, presented by Jenna Stanek. My name is Kristen O'Hara, Director of Programs at Pajarito Environmental Education Center, or PEAK, as we like to call it, and I will be the staff member supporting tonight's talk. Of course, PEAK is the nonprofit that runs the Los Alamos Nature Center. Visit our website, peaknature.org, to learn more, and come on by and visit us and talk to some staff about their favorite upcoming events. Someone's telling me I'm low. Give me 1 second. Hopefully that's higher. Okay. So just, I'm just going to skip this part. It's the most important part. I'd like to give a quick shout out to all PEAK's wonderful members, donors, and volunteers. Thank you so much for your generous support. If you are interested in becoming a PEAK member, donor, or volunteer, please visit our website. Or if you're in person today, grab a brochure on your way out. Just a few logistics before we get started. This is a hybrid presentation, meaning there are people online on Zoom and people in person at the Nature Center. For those tuning in on Zoom, please note that you will not be able to see our presenter on video tonight, just their slides. For questions, our presenter will take questions via Zoom chat and from our in-person audience at the end of the presentation. To find the chat icon, please look at the toolbar that pops up on Zoom and type your chat into the chat window. And of course, for those of you on Zoom, there may be a delay sometimes when we are listening to questions from live audience members. Don't worry, we'll get back in a second and try our very best to repeat the questions for everyone to hear. For some reason, if we do not repeat the questions, we are only human after all, please gently remind us. Okay, and then after this presentation, we will be sending out a short evaluation. Please, 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 please fill that out. It helps inform us and improve our future programs. So now for a bit about Jenna Stanek. Jenna has worked as an ecologist with the Environmental Protection and Compliance Division for Los Alamos National Laboratories since 2018. Prior to that, she worked as a wildlife biologist for the Southern Sierra Research Station for 8 years. She earned her MS in Wildlife and Fisheries Biology from Clemson University and BS and a BS in Biology and Ecology from Western Colorado University. She's passionate about the conservation and protection of birds and all wildlife. So thank you again to everyone for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to Jenna, who's going to take the presentation away.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Can you hear me okay, everyone? Okay, I wanted to start with, we're going to talk about why birds hit windows and how you can help prevent it. But first, I just want to start with, how many of you have heard a bird hit your window and gone outside and found the bird? Just curious. Okay, everyone in this room, how about online? Is anyone raising their hand? Kristen?
Yeah.
How many? Just one? Really? I got 100% in the room and just one online? Okay, well, I don't believe those statistics. Okay, well, it is a common occurrence, and that's what we're going to talk about, how we can prevent it, why it's a problem, and why it happens. So I mean, we all pretty much know this, but most birds that we see in the spring, summer, and fall are migratory birds, or maybe everybody doesn't know that, but that is true. Bird migration is the seasonal movement of migratory birds between breeding and non-breeding grounds, and it occurs twice a year. Migration is, as you can imagine, inherently risky, and it's a critical time in a migratory bird's life cycle when they are pushed to the edge of their physiological limits, and they can experience the largest amount of annual mortality. Here in the southwestern United States, this is a major migration corridor for birds, and spring and fall migrations attract many species. So spring migration is typically from April through May, and fall migration is in September and October. Typically, we see the most avian window collisions during spring and fall migration. Mitigating risks to bird window collisions is a relatively simple way to protect birds during migration and also year round, because our year-round birds also hit windows. Just going to give an example here of a migratory songbird and their year-round occurrence so you can get an idea. This is a migration map showing the relative abundance of western tanagers, which are one of my favorite species that migrate through and breed here in northern New Mexico. Um, I haven't seen one yet this year. Has anyone? Not yet? Not yet, but they're very colorful and beautiful, so you notice them. Um, like most neotropical songbird migrants, western tanagers only spend actually a short amount of time on their breeding ground here. Well, you can see the red and the yellow, but it's only a short amount of time. And they spend much more time on their wintering ground and then also on their migratory pathways. Western tanagers primarily spend their our winter months in Mexico and Central America. So I guess I just want to make the point that the time that they're here is a relatively short period of time, but they're migrating through and moving around a lot across our continent. Dr. Daniel Klem was one of the first scientists to suggest that bird window collisions are a major cause of bird mortality. This is a graph that was created based on his estimates from his work. And you can see that window collisions, based on his estimates, and domestic outdoor cats are one of our birds' main threats. And I just want to point out that habitat loss is not included in this figure. So um, annual bird mortality resulting from window collisions in the US alone is estimated to be as high as 1 billion birds. Birds are easily deceived by reflected images of habitat and sky on windows installed in the conventional vertical position, and then they run into these windows, leading to injury or mortality. Clem's research found 1 in 4 window strikes actually leave no evidence of a collision on a window, and that suggests that these overall estimates for bird mortality from window collisions are actually conservative. So, why do birds hit windows? Well, there are 3 main reasons. Reflections, first of all. During the day, birds see reflections of vegetation, or they see through the glass to potted plants or vegetation on the other side. And then there's lights. The majority of songbirds migrate at night because of cooler temperatures that reduce energy expenditure, and also there's fewer predators. And then the stars provide navigation cues. So nocturnal migrants crash because they fly into lighted windows. For reasons not entirely understood, lights can also divert nocturnal migrants from their original path, especially in foggy conditions. And then there's territoriality, which you see most often in the spring. If you have a bird that seems to be attacking the glass or a car mirror, it's because they see the reflection and they become territorial because they're just starting to set up territories in the spring. So, what are some things we can do to deter bird window strikes on existing windows? Well, maybe you all have seen decals. You can put up decals, stickers, sun catchers, mylar strips, masking tape, or other objects, even sticky notes on the outside surface of the window. I'll show you an example of that in a sec. But these are only effective, this is really important. These are only effective when they're spaced closely. So hawk silhouettes actually do little to deter birds. They don't think it's a hawk. And placing just 1 or 2 window stickers on a large window isn't going to prevent collisions. They must cover most of the glass with the spaces between too narrow for birds to fly through. So the key is really spacing. Studies in peer-reviewed literature have found that spacing dots or lines 2 inches apart vertically and horizontally is shown to be 90% effective in reducing bird window collisions, while 3 inches apart is shown to be 75 effective in reducing bird window collisions. So spacing is really important, and you're going to see that in all my following examples. But that's a cheap way to do it. You can use tempera paint or soap. This has become my favorite right now because it's inexpensive. It's about $20 for one of these bottles I have in the picture. You mark the outside of the window, and it lasts quite a while, especially here where maybe it doesn't rain as much as we want it to. And you can use either a grid pattern of 2 inches by 2 inches, or you could get creative and paint patterns on the window, but I actually recommend just doing the dot pattern, which I'll show you in the next slide. But this treatment can also be paired with window decals. And what you're seeing, the pictures here, that top picture is our lease space office down in White Rock. And so because it's lease space, we can't modify any of the windows. But we did put dots on there, and you can see, you cannot even see those dots. But if you look at the the light coming in the window, you can see the dots in the reflection. I thought that was cool. But what's cool about it is you can see out the window and it doesn't hinder looking out the window or anything. Okay, so dot patterns and tape. Long-lasting products. Now, these aren't like the paint I was just talking about, but these are an easier way to apply the correct spacing of dots across your window. Line tape products work well if applied. Oh, okay. If applied at the 2 inch spacing, but dot markings work better placed at 2 inch by 2 inch spacing and are relatively easy to apply to smaller windows. So you can see that picture on the left is spaced with the line spacing, and there's the kaleidoscope tape that it is. And then the picture on the right is this other type I'm going to talk about where if you have larger windows, you can put the whole sheet across the entire window where the whole sheet's applied to the window, but then you pull off the backing, and then the dots stick at perfectly measured spacing, like in the picture on the right. Can you guys see the dots on that? There are also other patterns, which I have examples actually outside on the table. I have some examples of different patterns you can purchase. And some of them are lines, some of them are dots. There's different configurations you can do. Okay, then there's these have a funny name, but they're Acopian bird savers, also known as Zen curtains. You can purchase these. You can just Google Acopian bird savers. They're closely spaced cords hanging down over windows. They do the work of tapered decals, but they're easier to install. They can be aesthetically pleasing maybe for some people. And I would argue that they actually work better because they, at least if you make them yourself, they move in the wind. So they're highly effective at deterring window strikes. And you can make your own from pea cord. We did this at my last job. We just took some pea cord and had some screws and nailed them on the top and hung up the pea cord on there, hanging down, and we didn't have another bird hit a window. Some people don't like the way it looks though. So there is that. Screens. Installing mosquito screens or just window screens on the outside of your windows can be very effective. One-way transparent film. So there's a company called Kaleidoscape, and it's basically a product where you put it on the outside and people can see from the inside out, but it makes the window appear opaque on the outside. So some businesses actually do this with signs that they have because you can get, logos and stuff printed, and you can see in the picture the before and after, but you can also see the inside and outside, looking in and then looking from the outside. The great thing about this option is that it is 100% effective. That, it's not birds being like, "Can I fit through that space?" No, it is blocked. It doesn't look like it blocks all the reflections and they don't fly through it. However, I have heard that these applications are difficult to remove and they can become kind of sticky and gummy underneath. If you're building a new structure or are remodeling and want to incorporate deterrents, you can consider installing external shutters and keeping them closed when you're not in the room. These can be also big energy savers. or installing external sunshades or awnings on windows to block the reflection of sunlight. On new construction or when putting in new windows, you can consider installing bird-safe glass, or consider windows that have the screen on the entire outside of the glass. So the bird-safe glass is a great option, but it can be expensive, to be blunt. The glass has UV technology incorporated into the glass, so you can see it on the right. So that's what humans will see through the glass, but birds will see this because of the UV additive in the glass, which is really cool. I think that technology is really cool. You can add interior vertical blinds and keep the slats only open. Just avoiding visual paths to the sky and greenery is important. Closing a window shade or a door between rooms sometimes can solve the problem, but yeah, just making sure that the reflection is blocked on the outside. And so I was just going to give some tips on things you can do to help our nocturnal migrants at night, since we talked about how lights can get them off track and bring them down towards a lighted window. Turning off all non-essential lights from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. each night during migration season. So again, that's April, May, and September, October. Don't use landscape lighting to light up trees or gardens where birds might be resting, or at least not. Yeah, just maybe don't do that. I was going to say not when they're migrating, but maybe not at all. Close blinds at night to reduce the amount of light being emitted from windows. And then for essential lights like security lighting, using some dark sky friendly lighting practices can help nocturnal migrants, like aiming the lights down, or using light shields, like that picture in the middle. It's showing the different options there. Using light shields to direct light downwards and avoiding light shining into the sky or the trees. Can also use detectors and sensors, so lights are only on when you need them to be with security lighting. And you can also use cooler temperatures and less intense lights for security lighting. So the DOE National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Denver, Colorado, uh, already started an initiative to mitigate risk of bird collisions with windows at their site. This is a picture taken from the building picture. This is a picture taken from the inside looking out with the dot pattern option that I talked about, where you put it over the entire window and then you peel it back. And I talked to the environmental professional over there who was part of that process. And I guess they just, they had put up a building. They started finding dead birds hitting this building. They purchased this bird window collision deterrent. They put it up, and then they didn't get any more bird window strikes. And it was a really great example of what can be done to prevent this in a relatively easy way. So at Lano, we mitigate threats to migrating resident and at-risk bird species in accordance with the Migratory Bird Treaty Act and DOE Order 4361A. Installing bird window deterrents is an opportunity to put new technology in place and further Lano's environmental stewardship legacy. And it also creates a bird-friendly campus and positive lab morale by minimizing avian window strike injuries and mortalities, because who likes to find a dead bird that just hit a window when you're working? It also aligns with the 2024 lab agenda in multiple areas, including the Force for Good critical outcome. And it gives us the opportunity to share successes with surrounding landowners and our neighbors and other interested parties. So the Migratory Bird Management Plan for Lano is our managing document, which describes requirements and best practices regarding activities that may impact migratory birds. Mitigating bird window strikes is one of the best practices that we have incorporated into the Migratory Bird Management Plan. So we are opportunistically tracking observed bird mortalities and injuries, because we want to identify and rectify problem areas if we can. So at Lano, we currently have a pilot project going right now for bird window strike mitigation. And we chose, this is a picture of the location. You can see all the windows. We chose this location because it has been identified as a problem location with reported bird window strikes. And yeah, there's a really nice outdoor open area seating area because it's right next to the Ottawee cafeteria. And then but because it's open, birds can fly in. And then, but when they fly in, they sometimes get funneled into this hallway in the picture. And the hallway leading to the outdoor area has these really large windows. So they can't get out. They think they can get out, but they end up just hitting the windows. So we're currently installing feather-friendly technology dot patterns onto these windows. Those are the same kind that the DOE National Renewable Energy Laboratory in Denver installed on some of their buildings that I showed you in the last slide. Yeah, so we're really excited about it. And then, like I said, for some of our lease space, we've been using the UV dot marker, which is you can wash that off, by the way. You can take window cleaner and get it off if you need to. This is just my last slide, and I was inspired by the conservation theme of the World Migratory Bird Day this year, which is shared spaces, creating bird-friendly cities and communities. World Migratory Bird Day is celebrated on May 10th in the spring and October 11th in the fall. Um, and yeah, I just really love this theme because I feel like it's important to remember that together we can make a difference, especially when it's something like this, where it's something relatively easy that we can do, and there's a lot of options, cheap ones, more expensive ones, but it's the right thing to do. So thank you, and I can take any questions if there are any. Yes. Ooh, they're so smart. Okay. The question is, um, do the window deterrents keep the Cooper's hawk from driving the other birds into the windows? That's a question, right? Did I get that right? Okay. Um, I don't know. I don't know, but it'll keep the birds from hitting the windows. So you're welcome.
It's just easier to say it over the microphone. Sorry.
No, go
We
for it.
have Heidi Trudell from Guardian Glass on Zoom, and she wrote me a lot of good information. But one thing that she added in the beginning of your presentation is ABC bird tape can last 5 to 10 years. I don't know. She just has some like timelines for things.
Yeah, no, that's good
And
information.
Collide Escape tends to last less than 5, and Feather Friendly is about 15 years. So if you're buying these decals, like, those are your sort of like expiration dates on those.
And then probably what was the name of the company? The glass. Yeah, so that would last probably a long time because the UV is in the glass. I mean, if I had the money, I'd buy. Not my favorite. Okay, we have a comment from someone saying the leaf-shaped stickers in the slide in the beginning, they only last about a year. And I was saying, but yeah, that's not my favorite option at all. I mean, I guess it's better than nothing at all, but again, I think it's really important to remember the spacing that I talked about, and that is backed up by a lot of research, mainly done by oh gosh, what's the name of that? John, help me out. No. Powder Mill Avian Research Center. Thank you. Um, they did a lot of research because they were already banning birds, and then they had this whole tunnel that they would put the birds through, and they test different glass and different treatments. And anyway, there is a lot of peer-reviewed literature out there showing what works, and the 2 by 2 spacing works well. No bird ever hit. There was a net that caught the birds before they would hit. Sorry. Yes, clarification. They were not making birds hit windows.
Fair enough. We do have a question online from Katie Weeks. Do you have suggestions for attaching occupane, I don't know, occupane, bird savers to buildings where where we can't necessarily anchor it in with drilled screws?
Oh, the copium bird savers.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, I couldn't say it.
Options?
Do you have suggestions for attaching them
Oh,
that aren't screwing it in?
uh, no. Maybe try a different option. Uh, I don't know. Um, I don't know how you would attach them without screwing them in. I mean, it depends on the material on the outside. And by the way, all this stuff has to be applied on the outside of the window. I don't know if I actually said that. Yeah, it's all on the outside of the window, so that's something to consider. I don't know what the building material is, like the
Right.
outside of the building material is. Maybe you could have something sticky. I
Someone
don't know that that would last.
suggests that they come with suction cups, or you could use command hooks. That's like someone in the chat.
Oh, so have it at the top of the window. That's a brilliant idea. Thank you.
Um, and then no other questions as of right now. If anyone has any questions, oh, I see one in the audience.
Oh, I have no experience resuscitating birds that have struck windows. I have definitely gone outside and picked up a bird that was stunned after it hit a window, and I've found dead birds after it hit a window, but I mean, basically they have concussions. I think there's a few studies that really show that. Yeah, their bones are hollow. Mhm. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so an audience member commented that they had found some bird that hit a window, some birds that hit a window and had success resuscitating them, for lack of a better word, by if their head was leaned to the side, they would hold it up straighter, and then uh, touch their breast or push on their breast to get them to breathe again. He said usually they fly away, but they were still stunned. Um, Hopefully, we can just prevent that by all putting up some things on our windows so we don't have to resuscitate birds and let them fly away and not actually know what happens to them, because in reality, we really don't know if they're okay or if they end up dying 5 days later or they get eaten by a hawk because they're not all with it in the brain anymore because they hit the window so hard. I mean, you just don't know.
Right. It's Heidi saying, please don't DIY rehab,
Yes,
which is, I was
that's a
going to
good
say,
point.
call a we
You
have
can
lots
you
of
can call a
rehabilitators
rehabber.
here. Yeah, I suggest doing that.
DIY rehab. Yes, all these birds are. You can see the cat inside and
And
the
just so
dots on
anyone
the
online
window.
understands, we're looking at the picture on this last screen. Does anyone have any other questions?
Y'all online are missing out because I brought a bunch of stickers and pins and informational stuff. You can come by Peak and pick it up though if you want. I can leave a few.
Okay, so it looks like that's the end of our questions. So like Jenna just said, there is lots of cool swag that she brought that will be here at the Nature Center if you want to come pick some up. She also brought some example decals of different ways that you could set up the stickers on the windows in different patterns. So it's very, very neat. We'll take a picture and we'll post it on social media. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and thank Jenna, especially for giving a presentation about this very important subject.
And I might convince them to put UV dots on their window for the bird.
Yeah, it won't take much convincing. We're gonna put dots on our windows. And yeah, thank you again for everyone for joining us this evening. And fill out that survey when you get it. And hopefully we'll see you at more programs in the future. Everyone have a good night.